Good evening, everyone. This is Maureen from Massachusetts. I'm in my back room where I do a lot of work. There's a lot going on out here. So it looks like a bit of a crafter's hoard, which it is. But I have been working strong and hard at keeping it somewhat organized. So there's just a lot of stuff you'll see, but a lot happens out here. I sew, I paint, I do my laundry dryer out here. I store everything out here for my crafts. You'll see a lot of dishes, china for my jewelry and mosaics. You'll just see jewelry supplies, thread and fabric, and an ironing board with the iron, and lots of paints on the walls and shelves of acrylic paints and all those supplies. So I just have a lot going on out here. So with that, I want to do a video tonight of it's evening, it's Saturday evening, and it's a little chilly, but I like it in here. It kind of keeps me awake and doing what I have to do here. So I just now broke a dish, a little piece, and I used my nippers, and I broke a piece into what now is kind of a big, and it looks like somewhat of a birdhouse shape, but now we're going to take it to my grinder so that I can then you know, shape it up better, so that it will eventually get a bit smaller and make a nice necklace charm, perhaps. That's my goal. Now you'll see where it's it's not completely flat, where the dish bends, but that's what makes it unique. I kind of like that. That's kind of what I'm going for, and I love the greens in this one. And this was, I don't know if I can find another piece like that, but anyway, it was a nice piece of china. So I'm going to move my camera and get my gloves on, and I'm going to show you the start of it, and hopefully we can take it from the grinder to copper foiling, fluxing, soldering, and a finished product. That would be kind of fun if I can accomplish that with you this evening. So that's my goal. So stay with me. I'm going to move my camera. Okay, you can see there. I gotta fix my apron. It just came undone on me. And I have my daughter's 2 cats that wanna linger about, and I hope they don't decide to stay too long. I don't like them out here when I'm soldering. And it's hard. I don't really have a door that I can shut. It's kind of covered over, so we'll see what we can do with that. I was out in my bottle area today enjoying that tremendously. Oh, I just love it. The colors, just so vibrant, and the bottles just are so pretty with the sunlight, especially the cobalt blue ones. Oh, just love it. Okay, so I'm with you, and I have my come up just a hair so you can see. This is a grinder. I got it on the internet. It's Gryfat, I guess. Maybe turn it this way so you can see the brand. I've had it for a year and a half or more now, and I like it. How it works is you fill the well with some water. I'll show you. It's electric. I have it plugged in over there, and the on-off switch is down on the side here, over here, and I take a little piece. It works on, there's a grinder bit in here. That's a grind, and it comes off. I don't want to take it off, but And I did find I had to order and replace, and it took a couple weeks, but it did come. Now you'll see I have water in here, and I add to it. And what you're also seeing in there is the white dust and powder that comes off the china plates as they're grinding. And that's called, you know, the slit, I believe they call that. Just like ceramics and that, it's the slip. It's the fine powder of the porcelain and the china. So, and we empty that as we go along, but not too bad right now. So I'll let that stay for what I'm going to do. This splatters. So I do like to put towels around some of my stuff because I have a lot of stuff here. And then what you do is, what I do with the little piece of sponge, you cut a piece of sponge and the size to fit the window. There's a little window there, and you put your sponge in there, and it has to be long enough to come up around that bit, because as you're working, you want the bit to stay wet. It's wet grinding. So I've taken my nippers. These are my nippers for mosaics and cutting dishes. And I already cut around, and I cut the plate, and it snapped nicely. I used this little blade to make my line, and then I cut it, you know, and did all of that already to shape it to this size. And we'll put those aside. Now, I do like wearing my crazy looking mask, but I'll tell you it's safe. There are little bits that will fly off of there, and even though I have glasses on, I do like to wear this because I've seen pieces fly, and I don't want to get them in my eyes, most of all. And so I'll be wearing these trusty gloves that have seen better days, and I will be wearing my mask. Let me get that on for you. There you have it, folks. Okay. Fun to laugh at yourself, isn't it? You have to laugh these days. So, alright, gloves are going on. And the grinder. Oh, I do have to plug it in. That would help. Look out, kitty. You're going to move. Huh? I have lots going on out here, so I have to make sure I get the right plug for the right thing. I have my soldering iron nearby, too. So, dishes of beads. Oh, God, you name it. But that's what makes it interesting, I guess. Okay, let me get this into the plug over here. Move, come on. Go, 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 go. Alright. There. I do have a little light. I could try that. You need the light? No? Not working. Huh. I don't know. Huh. I don't know. But anyway. Okay. It was on. I don't know if it runs on battery. Huh. Nope. I don't know. But anyway. Alright. So, let me get my other thing here. Some of them. Okay, another glove. Alright, I'm going to turn it on. Now that bit is moving at a good speed, and I am taking my piece and I'm going to start moving it on, making sure that that bit stays wet. I'm trying to remember what I spent for the grinder. I'll have to look back in my notes. I'm not remembering what the price was. It was reasonable. And it worked well. And I like to have things kind of rounded at the corners, so that's where I'm going with this. And this piece will end up being a bit smaller, you'll see. Rounding those edges, and yet this will be the pitch of the roof of a birdhouse, and around that edge. It's not perfect, it doesn't have to be. Remember, I kind of like making things that aren't so perfect. That's kind of my uniqueness in my creation. This has a nice little bumpy design, and I'm kind of wanting to keep that in there. Now I'm going to turn it over to the back side and let it get on that side too, because it does make a difference. I'm doing both sides, getting a nice edge. Coming along nicely. It takes too long. Sometimes it does, depending on the thickness of the piece. But see how that's actually, you know, making it smooth where you can touch it, and now here it's a little thicker, so you're gonna I'm pushing it against it with some firmness, but I'm not, you know, pushing too hard. I'm letting the machine kind of do the work. And the piece is starting to get a little smaller, which is okay. I don't really want it too big. is significantly smaller than when I started, and smoother. The edges are much smoother. Again, I taught myself, so this is all self-taught. So, like I said, if there's jewelry makers out there and they know a better way of doing something, feel free to comment. Let me know. I'm here to learn all I can as well. That creative desire from I remember from a young kid. I wanted to do things. I wanted to get my hands on a sewing machine and tools, and I wanted to know how to do stuff. And you know, I'm now 67. You know, and it's just. This is me. And I just love glittery, glassy objects. Always did. Jewelry, shiny objects always intrigued me. Just like a gypsy, I guess. I don't know. There. Now, in this, you can also see the indentation of that plate, but I like it. That's, you know, the uniqueness of this piece. So it's pretty much kind of where I want it. I don't want to screw up too much more, or, you know, get it too small. I can't work with it. The edges are smooth. Rough edges, and it's nice. It's a good dimension to take the foiling and the solder, I believe, and then I can add some embellishments. So let's go ahead and think about making a birdhouse. Okay, so I'm going to shut my grinder off. And I'm going to take my glasses off. I won't really be needing those, the safety glasses. I'll leave them on the grinder. I work now, I've learned to solder without these heavy gloves. They kind of get in my way. I'm just being careful. But, you know, if you're just starting, it probably might be good to try to wear some safety gloves or something. So we're going to take the piece now, and I'm going to turn my camera around where we'll be at the soldering area, and I'll unplug the grinder and plug in the soldering iron and let that get hot while we're foiling. Just gotta finish that up. The other day, I have the earrings on, and this is the necklace that goes with it. Kind of a pretty piece. These are really lovely. These will be going on to Etsy soon. I just got to finish cleaning them up. But this is a birdhouse charm soldered. That's a jadeite dish and a pretty little bead at the bottom on a pretty little chain. And here's another one, kind of a little different. Pretty. Yeah, that jadeite makes a good. And here's a dragonfly that my first attempt. I've got to finish up with some antlers or whatever you call them. This is going to be hanging from a wind chime, a bottle charm, I believe, bottle wind chime that I'm going to create from a wine bottle. And then we have just, so, here's some other broken pieces from that dish. You can see the way they broke. So, I'll talk to you a little bit about all of that. So, as we go along, people, I'll be explaining how I do this. So, okay, so let me just wipe some of them. I have little beads of supply. I was working the other night, so I like to work on a tile. Just pick them up at thrift stores, or, you know, if you know anybody that's got any hanging around, just grab a couple. I do, because you need something. The solder gets hot and it drips. And you do want to work from something that will absorb the heat of that. And you'll also see that my soldering iron here is on, is on a tile as well. So, I tell you, I can lose things so quickly. Well, anyway, so I like to have all my tools nearby, pliers, opening up jump rings, and this and that. I use a lot of tweezers, different ends to them. When I'm holding my piece, I might be using a tweezer. These are little jewelry wire cutters. These are crimpers. When you're using crimped little metal pieces that jewelry supplies, you want a crimper. That's what this is. Different wires. I have wires behind me. More tweezers. Lots of tweezers. You really do use a lot. A bone folder, I guess they call this. I use it for when I'm copper foiling and smoothing the edges before I solder, making sure that that foil is adhered to my piece really well, because that's important. More clippers, a little utility knife, some more plier type wire cutter thing. So I keep all of them here, even a file. You'll see as we go along. I do like to keep a little bunch of these clippy things. I use them sometimes to clip my piece as I'm working. That they really guide and help me as I work. Now, this apparatus right here is called a third arm. And all these supplies you can get on Amazon and for, you know, under jewelry suppliers. And I believe I got this on Amazon. This is a handy tool. You can put your piece and clip it right in there as you're working. I like to also keep my solder in my third arm. So I keep it near me like this. This is my Weller WP35 is the one that I like to use. And since I've been soldering, this is the second one I've ordered. Again, on Amazon. This was between $35 and $40. It comes with a tip. And this is the tip that it came with. And I like it. I don't maneuver too much with it's up high. And I kind of keep it there as I work. You can turn it down and such. But I don't worry too much about the temperature. I've always been able to work my pieces, leaving that pretty much where it's at, and it's up at the more higher mode. You'll see the it says 120 volt Weller, and like I said, you can turn that up or down. Now I want to just move the plug of the grinder out of there. Unplug that. That's the grinder. Now we're going to be plugging in the other thing. can take that off of there now. Alright. Okay. And you want to be careful with your soldering iron that gets very hot. That's why I always try to wear my apron. I have my apron on. Or put a towel or something over your lap. And because if that, drips on you, you're going to know. You don't want that. It's fire. Like fire, and it will burn you bad. So, just so you know, always be safe. Come on, out. Come on, you gotta go. I know, you're a lovely kitty, you really are. Go on, go, go, go. I don't want you here while I'm soldering. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So, what I also want to talk to you about is the other tools needed for soldering. This little dish is handy, just a little ceramic baking dish, and I keep my block of Sal Almanac, S-A-L space A-L-M-A-N-E-C, I believe. Sal Almanac, and it looks like a bar soap. And what this does is it's some kind of hard solution that allows you to take your soldering iron when it gets dirty and take it to the edge, like this is getting hot, so it might even smoke on me, and clean that wand, because you want it clean, and it allows you to do that. It's a good tool for that. It allows you to get that black soot grit that comes from soldering as you solder and it gets dirty. You want it, your tip always needs to be clean. So you want to do that. You want to make sure your tip is clean. I did just turn it. It felt like it wasn't on. Do that the right one. Yeah. So and no. Come on, stop. You've got to go. Go on. And making sure that that's I don't know where the part is where it's on. Yeah, I'm looking at it for just a moment, folks. Hold on. Yeah, that's getting hot now, I believe. Yeah, that's hot. Okay. So, another thing you always want to tin, your soldering iron, and that's tinning is actually preparing, putting some solder on it, letting it grab the solder, so it will then also work the solder well on your piece. So in order to do that, I'm going to clean some of that off right there. That's why I have the little hole in the Sal Almanac that's been, used so much. But that little hole also has a ball of the solder in there. And I use that, I keep it in there for tinning my wand. So I'm preparing to tin it now. And a nice hot soldering iron will fall right into there. So I know that this needs to get a little hotter. It's doing it though. It's melting it nicely and getting that tip nice, and yeah, it's gone down in there nicely. If you can see that. It's gone in there nicely. And I'm, ooh, the bead came out. I'll have to get that after. I'll have to make sure it goes back in there. But anyway, that bead has to, my trusty bead of solder. some tweezers. But anyway, that's a nice, pretty well tipped. So we're going to wait though, because we've got to now foil. So the next thing is getting your foil on. Now, this is a very wide piece, roll of foil, copper foil. Again, you can get this on Amazon or any, you know, suppliers for jewelry making and soldering. So it's copper foil. This is very wide. I want to say it's probably 1.5 inches. You don't need to buy it as wide like that. I just happened to, because I wanted to be able to cut it down to the sizes, and I kind of like doing that. But here's one that came in a kit, and this is 5/16 of an inch, and that's actually a really good size for copper foiling. It allows you to have enough to go over both the edges of your piece. So that's good to know. If you know, I've ordered different widths, 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch and 5/16, and so. But what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take. I just want to know, and I'm gonna start about. I never start where you're gonna have a jump ring, because those are more stress points. You always want to start foiling kind of like where you know there's not going to be too much going on. So I start halfway on the sides, like on a piece like this. So I also want to know just how much I'm going to need, like a rough estimate for now. I'm going to be cutting this. All right, so I know that I'm going to need about this much. So I'm going to fold this right about there, and I'm going to cut it. Alright, and I'm going to put this back where I keep it, so I know. I like to keep my supplies in certain places, so you're not always losing things, and I do enough of that as it is. So I also want enough to go over both, but I will be trimming. That's what we'll be using the knife for. So I'm thinking that I might like to have it about this wide, I'm thinking. So let's just continue on down. I'm kind of eyeballing it, but overall it doesn't work. You're going to trim some of it anyway. You really don't want to waste a lot of your supplies. You pay good money for your supplies. Put that there for now. So here's a piece, and like I said, it's probably not completely, I can see where it's off a little bit, but that's okay. Now, I've also noticed that some of this tape has not, it's got a peel off back. The white peels off. So you want to start, and you want to, again, start where you're not going to have a stressor. So about halfway onto the side is where I'm thinking I'll start this. And again, I want it kind of in the middle of the foil so that I can have enough over both front and back. And I'm coming around, same thing, and I'm working that around those edges, and around and down, and around, and keeping it kind of in sync with my piece and the sides. And I'm going to come up the sides. See how that didn't stick there? So I've got to go back and make sure that I know what I'm doing. And maybe it's just a matter of me pinching that in place, because it doesn't quite stick the way I want it to. That's what drives me crazy about this foil. it's got to start sticking better. All right. All right, so then quickly take and rub it all down, getting it on, adhering it. We're going to be trimming it, so don't worry too much. And get that all foiled on there nicely. And you are going to find that your hands will get that metal color. You're going to clean them good afterwards. Now, I also, this is where I use my little utility knife, and I will be using the bone folder. Now, keeping in line where the seam ends, you don't want to go against it and pull it up. I have a cat here, so I've got to be careful with these cats. They want to be with me. They're my daughter's cats, and they're just here with us for a while with this COVID and everybody's crazy schedule. You can see what I'm doing. I am nicely pressing good and firm to make sure, and then I'm going to come around and just keep pressing that on there. You want a nice, I'll be cutting some of that off. You want to know that the foil is on there good. This is where your solder's going to be, and you want to make sure it's on there good. Now, see the back of this? It's going to need some trimming up. So, and probably a little bit on the front. So, once we know that the foil's on good, that foil's on there pretty good, and it's not going to be pulling off. And like I said, this foil, let's stick a little better. So our soldering iron's nice and hot. We'll be using it shortly. Alright, now what I like to do is take this, make sure it's tightened because it does come undone. Make sure you know where that blade is. And then I want to trim this up. So I'm taking, and be careful here. This knife is sharp. I had to kind of learn some of this. And take some of that away. You don't know. You don't know where something's gonna go. Yeah, okay, so that don't look too bad. We'll be trimming here and there. Okay. Still with me? Okay. Now, I'm going to take this off of here, just because I don't really like some of that. And that's going to get pushed down a little bit better. Oop. I see a problem. And this happens. Yeah. Okay. I may have to fix that right there. I see around the corner here where I want to trim it a little, so let's just try to do that. And this is all part of, you know, learning, working, playing with things. You gotta just be patient. I notice this is a lot of patience to get them just right, or right for you. I mean, nothing's gonna be perfect. And if you strive for real, I strive for quality. Perfection, yes, to a point, but not to a degree where you're obsessed with it to the point where, you know, it's taking you forever to make a piece, you know. Yeah. Alright, so the back looks good. You do want to keep some good amount of foil on there. Now, the front, I'm going to take this little piece here off. I don't like it. It's got to come off. It's not in sync with the rest of it, so there we go. And over here, wait a minute, kitty. Yeah, I know. You're seeing where I'm taking just a little bit of the foil away because it's too wide. So that's okay to do. You can do that. Yeah. Just take some of it away. All right. And the way I do it too, I like to do like a raised edge with my solder on most of my pieces. So if there's any imperfections in the foiling, you don't really see it after I've done my soldering. So don't worry too much about that. And again, you know, I'm self-taught. You know, you have to teach yourself and learn and just be patient with yourself because you're learning a lot of new ways, new tools, how to use tools, you know, how to use different products. And I was very, very intimidated by all of this stuff, the hot soldering iron. I was. So I can sympathize with anybody who's, you know, still getting the heebie-jeebies in wanting to use solder. I did too. So all I can say is just go for it, be safe, you know, do a lot of research. I did a lot of research. Read up on your product. Now, this is flux. This is the paste flux. This is Odie 95 lead-free tinning flux. And it looks like this. It looks like Vaseline, actually, but with a little gray color to it. And this is clean. I just bought this not too long ago. This is not contaminated or anything. This is how it comes. I'm going to take a little on my Q-tip. I always keep some clean Q-tips nearby. And then what you want to do now is just take it and you know, start probably here or anywhere. But anyway, you're just taking this pasty and you're getting it all over the copper foil. Actually do better with my fingers than I do. And this is allowing the solder to run smoothly and freely and flow nicely. The flow good, yeah. And the solder won't flow well without it. And it comes in liquid and brush form too. I have always just bought the paste. I kind of like it better. For me, it's just something I think it looks okay. Works okay. And just make sure you got good flux on there. And you can always put it aside because you can use the other side of that. Now, what I like to do is, this is where my tweezers are going to come in handy because I'm right-handed. But I may hold this here in my left hand, and working on the tile, I'm going to now go back to, actually my flux, my little ball of flux came out of there, so let's see if I can get it back in the thing there. Yeah. Let me just see if I can. Okay, I've got some nice solder on there, and I'm starting. Look at that, folks. It went along nicely. And a little bit of solder will go a long way. So, and that's why I like to also keep my tile there, because if that drips, you don't want it dripping on you. Believe me, you don't. And it does cool. It hardens, or whatever the word is. It's not cool, believe me, that's hot. But it dries quickly as far as it doesn't stay liquid for very long. I'll be doing the back. I'm going to finish up the front. Here, okay, I'm going to let that dry, and we may do another coat on. We're going to be cleaning all this up after, so don't worry. Yeah, with some nice cleaner after it's all done. But what we want to do now is make sure we get those sides. Okay. Okay. Now, I have to go one more time around here, and then we'll be, let that dry, and then I'll show you what I do in just a moment. Yeah. Alright, now I'm going to start my fancy edge. I'm going to start about there. And I'm going to go like that. And that. It's just taking solder and dropping it. Taking solder and dropping it. And my solder's good and hot. My soldering iron is good and hot. And it's just taking a clump and one right after the other, dropping it on there, letting that iron just, and again, your iron's got to be nice and hot. Nice, yeah. I've had it where, you know, I made a mess because I didn't do it right. Now this is, I'm coming around an edge where there's not a lot of, so I gotta build it up a little. Gonna have to grab some more solder from here too. Coming along nicely. Kind of what I wanted it to do. And then I will be putting some ball, a little bit more of a bead of solder at the tops. Yeah. And a little more on each edge. I'm going to fix that. have to fix that. Now you'll see this is getting dirty, and so therefore it's not adhering to the solder as well. So it's time to clean it. Excuse me. It's smoking. It's because I'm cleaning the edges. Look how much nicer that was. Getting some of that off. See, better. So, I may have to grab my Q-tip and put this back in the holder. And put a little more flux in some of these areas. And I think I might put a couple here. Okay. Oh, and another thing I gotta do is get this. This might be hot. Gotta be careful. And like I said, I like to have my flux, my solder, I'm sorry, on here. And I like to look like that. That's how I do it. Some people work with holding their flux in one hand. And it's different, I suppose, if you're doing, there's another way with the torch, and then I don't do that. Maybe someday I will. I'm intrigued by that, but we'll see. You know, I've got a lot going on now as it is. Yeah. So I think I'll try to go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's kind of a little bit. No, I may have to cut a new piece of wire, or I may have to do it like this. I've done it like this before, but we'll see. Just come over with a nice curl too. You can do that. Yeah, I've kind of ended it that way because it's not going anywhere, and I need to have it be like that. Okay. Again, not entirely sure that I did it the real professional way, but I am going to attempt to get a little bit bigger jump ring. I put the sides for that, I guess. Okay. So, here we go. I'm going to open up a jump ring to show you. You can tell where it needs to be opened up, because when you buy your jump rings, split jump rings, you'll see that where the split is. Now I've got it where the split is, and I'm taking and I'm working one. This one's coming towards me, and this one's moving away from me. And you can see how I open that nicely. Okay, now I'm going to attempt to put this charm on there, and then my attempt is to make sure that I have it on here in a good way, the way I want it. Oh, wait a minute. This is where I want to make sure that this dangles out to the front of that. Does it matter? Guess it does, huh? Then you do the opposite. You bring it back. And you match those ends up good. And then you will be soldering that a little bit in place. I have to get it good and tight. And that's that. So now I have the bird dove charm at the bottom of this pretty little stem of beads. And they're pretty, and they're complementary to my piece, I believe. And they will kind of dangle, kind of like that, on the face of it, which is pretty. So now I'm going to get rid of all these pretty little charms, put them onto the dish for now. Oh, they have to go back into, yeah, creating pieces. Put this there. Okay. We got these are pretty. Aren't they pretty? Those would be nice on, I think I'm going to do a different piece next to. So, these are pretty. So, move those out of my way for just a moment. And these two, these are pretty. So, they're all pretty. So, now this is where I might use these. And I want to put a jump ring onto this. So, one of these. Now, most of my, I gotta look for a bail. So, I believe I have bails in this one. No, these aren't bails. Bails in this one? Yes. Alright, let's just put these back, because I don't know where things are without getting burned here. Alright. My little thing of bails. So, this particular piece is quite pretty, and this one's a little more antique-y. I don't think so. I do have something like this. Alright. Or being a big piece, you know, I might not want a big bail. I might want a small bail. have a big piece as it's done. This is pretty. It's got little design in it, so I'm thinking, let me look around here. I have these kinds of veils and beads. These are pretty. Right here. A lot of these. Maybe I'll use this. These are nice. Alright, so maybe that's what I want. This one's kind of big. Alright. So much. Okay, let's try that. God, I don't know what I did with my hand, but I heard it. Okay. Let's put that over there as I'm marking. So, now that I know that, and I know that my bayo has to be this way with the chain coming through it, right? So that also tells me that I want my jump ring to be this way, opened up, and I can, this one's bigger so I can open it with my hand. I need it to be like this, see? So I gotta get the jump ring on first, and I'm going to, oh, wait a minute, I'm not using that one. I'm using this bayo. Alright, so this one, this one goes this way. Okay, glad I caught that. I'm using this bayo, not the other one. Okay, so this has to be, what did I say? This way. Yeah. So, okay, not this way, this way. And that's something you've got to think about as you're working your pieces. If you, in fact, do this process. So, knowing that, oh, there we go. Making a mess. Oop. And this is the start of, okay. Just want to hold that still while I work on that. Yeah. So, what did I say? It's got to go this way, right? Yeah. So, I'm taking a little flux. And I'm fluxing the bottom too. Okay. My solder iron's still hot. I'm grabbing a little bit of solder. I have to clean it a little. Oh yeah. That's smoking because I'm cleaning it. There we go. Move that out of my way. Alright, this is hot. It's got solder. I've got flux on both pieces. And I make a mess of these things. I told you, these are my challenge, especially, and I swear the bigger ones are even harder for me. But that's not staying there. I just had to get it started. It's not staying there. No. Okay. Be careful when you've got the soldering iron in your hand too. I tend to sometimes not put it back in the jacket when I should. As you can see, these are my challenges. There. That's not too bad, but is it at the top? No. Alright, this has to go back on.